Hi, and welcome to Patient Preferred Presents. On this amazing new show, we will be introducing you to some of today's top physicians and leaders in the healthcare industry while sharing new discoveries, medical procedures, expert advice, and answering all of your healthcare concerns. So stick around. You don't want to miss today's episode.
Welcome into Patient Preferred Presents. My name is Jay McFarland, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to Dr. Virginia Crist. She has spent 35 years as a marriage and family therapist. She is award-winning. Many of her speeches have gone viral. She's made appearances on radio shows and podcasts across the country, and you're going to love her story about how she got involved. One experience with a counselor changed her course and her history, but then how she kind of fought against establishment and really wanted to focus in on love and how you quantify love and how you build love. I can't wait for you to hear her passion and great advice for any relationship. All right, Doctor, it's such a pleasure to have you on today. I love to start out just finding out your history and how did you end up on this path? You've been on it now for 35 years, marriage and family therapy. Did you always know that you wanted to do this, or how did you end up here?
That's a great question, because when I was 8 years old, on through until I finished my bachelor's, I wanted to be an attorney. Well, I consider a short word to make the difference. I think attorneys are hard and counselors are soft. It's the easiest differentiation for me. But I didn't know that such an animal existed. I had never seen a counselor. I didn't know there were counselors. But then when I went back to my hometown to teach for a couple of years, to put aside some money for my master's degree, I was at the local high school and I saw this line of high school students all the way down the hall to enter this one room. So I asked another administrator, I said, what is that about? What's that line about? And she said, they're waiting to see a counselor. I said, oh, what's a counselor? And she said, well, he talks to them about their scheduling of classes, and he also talks to them about their personal problems. And I said, really? And I found that interesting that they had someplace to go about their personal problems. So I found time to go stand in line too. I wanted to meet this creature that I never knew existed. And he was amazing. I thought he was fascinating, interesting, inspiring, and kind and compassionate and essential. I had never realized that truly there was a need for such a thing, such a person, such an animal. And I did a 180-degree turn and went to Florida Atlantic University and got 2 master's degrees for starters, one in counseling education and one in sex. And so then I went on for a 5-year doctoral program, which was even more interesting. I wanted to do my coursework. I saw the 5-year synopsis of classes, and none of them, 5 years worth of classes, had the word love in it. And so here we are spending 5 years going to classes on marriage and the family without ever talking about love. So, I'm a new freshman there, so I didn't want to stir the waters, but I asked my major professor, none of these courses, they don't have love in them. And he says, oh, no, this is a clinical track. And we can't measure love. So, no, of course, we can't study love. It's not measurable. And I was trying to hold back my lack of understanding of how that would happen. But so I said, oh, okay. But it bothered me the whole 5 years. So when it was time to do my dissertation after all that, no love in marriage or family, I decided I needed to do my dissertation on that. So I had 5 professors on my committee, but some were disagreeable. No, we can't measure love. It's not scientific. We can't quantify love. So, no, you can't do it on love. And I wanted to talk about romantic love. I'm particularly interested in being romantic and passionate. And so I kept knocking professors off of my committee if they weren't willing to help me do this research. And then I heard, Virginia, you're insulting these professors. You can't take people off. I mean, that's such an insult to the professor. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but this is important to me and I think to the world. There's no place that we're even ever taught how to love. And so I see that we try, but we sure mess up. The divorce rates are staggering. People separate all the time. I see affairs. I don't know. I think it's important. So I don't mean to insult them, but I think it would be kind of important to do some research on love in marriage and family matters. So forgive me, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I'd really like to do the research. And he says, I feel sorry for you. You're going to run into a lot of opposition. I hope you can do it. And this was my very kind major professor. So I continued. I went through my whole department. I finally went into social work and I pulled a couple out of there. And I got 5 professors to agree with me so I could start. So I go into this great, big, huge, gigantic library at Florida State University. And they were right. There was not one book that I could reference
Wow.
on love. Nothing had been done. No resource at all except Shakespeare and the poets, which unfortunately didn't count. And so I wrote the first book on attitudes towards love among single, married, and divorced adults. And I got an 85% return on my survey, which was more than their typical 5 or 10% return on surveys. So there was an interest among the people about love. So I was excited and I was able to quantify the results that they didn't think was possible. And so I wrote the first book. I had been to college 11 years at that point, a bachelor's, 2 master's degrees, and a 5-year doctoral program. And then I did some postdoctoral work at Harvard Medical School through their School of Psychiatry on couples and psychotherapy. So I was at this point chomping at the bit to get to Boca Raton to open my private practice. I was so ready to see couples. I felt it with all my heart and soul. So foolishly, my biggest regret is that I did not stay another year and publish my dissertation. There was another professor at New York University whom I spoke with on the phone. He was the only other person in the United States that was beginning his research on love, and he was developing a triangular theory of love. And he said, we should work together. And I said, yes. And I said, well, thank you. It was good talking with you. But I didn't mean it, because that would have meant I would have had to stay longer to work with this
Hmm.
professor in New York. And I was so ready to go. I knew in my heart I was ready to start working with couples. I didn't want to do anything else. I wanted to get to Boca and open my practice. So I lied to him, and I get to Boca. I didn't know a soul in Boca Raton. It took me 3 days to go up and down the streets looking for a grocery store. So I truly started from scratch. I didn't have any help. I did have a little bit of money, so I did start in the high rent district. I found a beautiful building. I furnished it beautifully. I had some business acumen. Thanks to my mother, I learned from her about being a good businesswoman. And so I furnished it nicely. I was in a nice building, and the wealthy found me. I was doing speeches all over in beautiful venues on keeping love alive
Mm.
at any age. And that was my spiral to the top in the first 3 years. Unfortunately, some therapists don't have a business that's left brain,
Mm.
and we are kind and soft and compassionate, and that's right brain. But unless you get them in the door, you can't apply the soft, kind, compassionate part of ourselves. And so, if you don't have business sense, left brain, there, you can't just sit there and expect them to walk in. So I knew how to market, and I owe that to my mother. She's gone, of course, but I learned by observation. I watched her and learned. So um, she was a successful businesswoman, not any therapist type. She was a businesswoman, but I learned how important it is to mingle with people, and to always smile and be the first to approach and be welcoming to people, and just be kind and interested in other people. Basically, that's all it is.
Right.
But you connect with people when you are the one to take the 3 or 5 steps towards them and say hello with a welcoming smile, and not wait for them to come to you. And so I did that. And um, between that at networking events and having a lovely office for them to walk into, the speech and a pleasant office, nicely furnished, was all it took. So I did well from the beginning. So I was doing a radio show, a 2 hour radio talk show in Miami, and then I was going to West Palm for another
Mm.
radio talk show 2 nights later. And so people were interested in love, as if all these years it didn't matter. Still, I don't know of any course anywhere in the world about how to love one another in a healthy way. So I dedicated my life. This was my mission in life, is to teach people how to love one another in a healthy way. That's what I'd like to talk with you about today. How to keep love alive at any age, how to
Hmm.
have a healthy love relationship, also how to have meaningful love life in the bedroom, um, to make love rather than to have just sex.
Mm.
So there's a significant difference. And I'm delighted to be certified as a sex therapist in Florida as well. So we get to talk about your whole relationship, because it takes two things to have a healthy relationship. One is the emotional intimacy, and that's the glue. That's the bonding that you do when you talk about deep things that matter. Now, the other is I call it the weather report when you have to talk about regular day to day things. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to do that. Honey, don't forget to stop and pick up milk. And oh, yeah, don't forget to pick up the kids too. That's important. We need to say those things, but they're not deep and they're not bonding. I'm talking about the deep emotional intimacy when you talk about your fears, your concerns for the future, what you worry about that keeps you up at night, what you like and what you don't like in your life and in the bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
what you want and what you don't want in life and in the bedroom, what you need and what you don't need. And people don't talk about those
No,
things.
they don't.
I see that the first time they ever talk about anything sexual is when I bring it up in the session. And so first they wiggle and squirm and they're embarrassed. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling them, I talk about this all day long, like people talk about the weather. So I'll try to make you comfortable as we talk about it. But this is an essential conversation. And so let's start. Who initiates? And, you know, usually there's an imbalance there. One initiates more than the other. And then we go from there about what you like and don't like and things of that nature. Those are deep intimacy conversations that are bonding. I also make sure I say emphatically, please be careful about how you speak to one another about those things
Mm-hmm.
because you can do so much damage to the relationship if you are not kind and gentle and careful about how you talk about things in the bedroom because you're the most vulnerable there. And so if you think that you're going to be a smart ass about how you present something to your partner, zip it
Mm-hmm.
because you have just created a canyon of distance between the two of you. If you say something that is not thoughtful and sensitive and gentle and tender in the way you present it, you have just put miles between the two of you in your relationship. So you need to be careful of what you say and how you say it in the bedroom. You need to say it in a loving way. I'm happy to teach you about that. I need to teach you about that because if you love your partner, you can make the biggest error of your life if you are not kind, gentle, and thoughtful about whatever you say to each other, about what you do or don't do with each other in the bedroom. So,
Such great counsel. And
uh,
I love that you focus on love. I love that this was your driving mission. I feel like love is so it's so misportrayed in the movies. You know, they lived happily ever after. Even the phraseology we use, we fell in love. It's like we did nothing. We have no control over it. It comes and goes like the wind, you know, and I'm sure you found through your studies and your daily counsel that it's not like that at all, that we do have some control, don't we, doctor? Have some control over love and how to keep it alive and those types of things.
yes, and and I encourage them to believe that when we were little and we looked up at those great big screens in the movies and we saw the prince taking her on his white steed into the sunset to live happily ever after, we integrated that into our little souls.
Mm-hmm.
And we believed that that is how it was going to be when we grew up. And there's actually a psychological term for that, the Cinderella syndrome.
Okay.
So then we get married and we're so disappointed because I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm upset. You're supposed to make me happy. What's the deal? I'm so disappointed. But the truth is, we can make better love stories than what we saw in the movies. Those were fictitious cartoon characters, but we can make it even better than what we saw in the movies because we can create our own love stories that have happy endings. We have had a severe interruption because technology has interrupted that process significantly. Now we prefer to look at our screen on the cell phone, the iPad, the Surface, the laptop. We even take it into the bedroom with us. It's the preferred partner,
Mm-hmm.
which don't get me started on that because I'm so upset that we don't look into our partner's eyes anymore. We prefer to look at the damn screen. It has killed relationships. I fear for the young people because they don't know anything but technology. They don't know that. I'm afraid they won't know how to love. I don't think they'll know love. So it concerns me deeply. It's already done so much damage to the relationships of the 30-year-olds and up. So, from those even younger, they know nothing about how to love. They only are experts at technology. I think they got it fed in their baby bottles to them. It's in their DNA,
Mm-hmm.
but they know nothing of how to love. They don't relate to each other at all. There was a sidebar I had in my speeches. I put in 6 slides of young people. Hey, I'm dying to tell you something. Okay, I'll meet with you. Let's go to Starbucks. Okay, I'll see you there in an hour. And they go to Starbucks and they're sitting there, 4 of them, on their phones and they text instead of talk. So, what was so eating them up inside that they had to meet, that they convey by text when they get together? Relationship is not a term they understand. And so my heart hurts for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And
They,
even how so much of the communication is done in short form with emoticons and things like that. We can't
yeah,
even articulate how we feel. We have to find a picture to say how
right,
we feel, right?
right. Which emoji would
Mm-hmm.
you pick? Yeah, so it's very concerning to me.
Yeah.
Um,
The other part, doctor, about our culture is that we're taught, and I don't it's just ingrained in me. I know that we're supposed to be able to handle these things on our own. We're supposed to be able to enter a relationship, know how relationships work, and if we struggle, then it's weakness. And we're taught that if you look outside for counsel, like with somebody like yourself, that means you're weak, that you failed, that you couldn't accomplish it on your own. And I think that's a real failing in society because there is so much knowledge and you don't have to reinvent the wheel in your relationship. And sometimes just talking about it makes all the difference.
thank you for bringing that up, Mr. McFarland,
Mm-hmm.
because I, in the last 12 years, 72% of my initial calls are from men. So I'm delighted because before that, it used to be all women making the initial phone calls. It was always the women because the men would not, they would die before they would come to the counseling office. The women would have to drag them by the hair to come in. And so it was unfortunate because they have the exact attitude you're suggesting, but not anymore. No, no, they are initiating the counseling. They want to come. Every day the calls are from men,
Hmm.
which impresses me greatly because that stigma is now a very small minority. Men
Yeah, that,
are
yeah.
smarter. They understand the value of counseling. That their guys, the guys friends that they have been to counseling. That's what guys talk about now. They want to save their marriages. They want to have better sex. They want to have. And by the way, just a real fast. Let me throw this in real quick. The guys that help around the house have better sex
Hmm.
because their wives are so thrilled that they're helping, either with the housework or the kids or both, that they get way better sex. Just a quick little.
No, I've always believed that. I've always believed the best foreplay is doing the dishes or helping with the kids or whatever else. I have this belief that it's impossible to hate somebody who you serve. That when you serve somebody in any capacity, you gain empathy for those people. So for me in my marriage, our success is largely because we know what the other one wants or needs and we serve them. We do those things because they want them.
And that's love.
Yes. Right.
That's love. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Let
that.
me,
Service is love.
yeah, yeah. Let me go back to that professor in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So about 6 months after I had arrived in Boca, I'm standing at a cashier in the grocery store. Through the lines, they have all the magazines. While you're standing in the line, you can see all the magazines while you're waiting. I'll be darned if he didn't publish and popularize it. So there, I'm saying, oh man, on the cover of a popular magazine was Sternberg's triangular theory of romantic love. And I thought, darn, I really missed it. I really missed it. I could have been we could have published together, something together or complementary. And I missed an opportunity that I shouldn't have. It was only 6 months after I got here.
Mm.
And so I'm happy for him that he did that. But there went the initial $1 million right down the tubes for me. But that was an eye opener. It was regrettable for me.
Well, I'm
But
sure, though, I'm sure you have helped and changed so many lives along the way, just one on one and with your speeches. And I believe this is the 89th podcast or interview that you've done. So I
TV or
know,
radio.
yeah, so I know that even though you missed that opportunity, you have still been changing lives and relationships.
Yes, and I love it. I'm grateful. I'm so
Hmm.
grateful that people trust me with the most vulnerable parts of themselves. I feel so grateful. I'm very honored.
Well, that's awesome. And you've also been named a patient preferred marriage, family, and sex therapist. Tell me what that means to you.
That I've been an award-winning therapist all my life, and so finally I received one before this, that the Caring Heart Award, which was very humbling. And to have a caring heart when you're a counselor is a big deal. I thought, what could be better to be acknowledged for having a caring heart? So I thought, what a way to end, that, on such a beautiful note. And I'm sure this is it. I'm sure they're going to start giving them to the 40-year-olds now. But I'm still going strong. I love what I do so much. I don't want to stop. I love it. I'm in my zenith when I'm in the session. So then, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I'm driving in my car, and some lady calls me and she says, "Congratulations, Dr. Crist." And I thought, "Thank you. For what?" And she goes on, she proceeds to say, "You have just been awarded the patient preferred provider as a counselor in 2021 for the state of Florida." And I'm thinking, holy cow, let me pull over. This really sounds wonderful. And I'm so grateful to continue to be acknowledged for my work. I love what I do. It's a wonderful thing to watch couples go from here to here and leave happy. I mean, when I have two people sitting in front of me who are willing and motivated, that's all I need. The sky's the limit. They're If they are wanting to improve their relationship and neither one of them are dragging their feet, miracles happen in on that couch. It's not me. They're doing all the work. I know what to teach them. The truth is, I do more teaching than counseling. I see intelligent, motivated people. It's really fun. It's really fun. So um, I also see individuals who want to have some personal growth, who want to lead better lives, who want to move from a stuck position to an unstuck position. I love seeing individuals as well.
Mhm.
My life is a therapist's dream caseload. So I don't want to stop. But the acknowledgement that I have now, here again with the patient preferred provider, is like the best counselor in Florida, is an interpretation of that in my field. So I'm thinking, gosh, thank you, God. I feel so blessed for all of this recognition because it's been my mission to help people throughout my life. And I'm so grateful for all these patients to think that I've achieved some difference in their lives. So I thank you all. I,
Well, what a neat thing to go from thinking you're going to be an attorney to seeing a bunch of kids in line and finding out what a counselor is to
yeah,
now being rewarded and recognized for years of service and changing hearts and teaching people how to love, right?
you can't beat it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy, yes, with what I do. I still have that bounce in my step every day when I
Oh, I
walk
can
into the
tell.
office,
Yeah.
like the first day 33 years ago. So, I mean, I couldn't ask for more. It's it's a wonderful feeling.
Now, Doctor, one of the things that got you more well known was your Keeping Love Alive at Any Age speech. This
Mhm.
has been shared, gone viral. Tell me a little bit about that speech, and were you surprised by the response that you received from that speech?
Well, it was a winner. It was my ticket to the top. It took me way up to the national level at the beginning of my career. And so I know that people are interested in having love and keeping it alive. That was my signature speech, keeping love alive at any age. And so, yeah, it doesn't have to. People think, okay, we're so in love. I mean, and then you get married, and then you think, okay, now I've got to roll up my sleeves and get responsible and act mature. I've got to make more money. We've got to buy this house. We've got to get that car. We've got the white picket fence. Oh, yeah. And the dog and 2.5 children and the in laws and the outlaws. And so everything you used to do to make each other feel special is now more important and higher on the priority list than what you used to do before you got married to make each other feel so special that you fell in love and wanted to marry each other. Wow. Okay, so now it's like 28 notches down on the list. You remember you used to lie to your family. I'm so sorry, I can't be there Sunday. No, sorry, I got other plans. No, it's really important. Next time, or next Sunday, maybe I'll see you then, okay? And you would lie to your bosses at work. You'd go in an hour late. Those days were fun and exciting, and you used to say all kinds of beautiful things to get to each other. You know, like, gosh, I'm lying next to the most beautiful woman in the world. When's the last time you said that?
Mhm.
You know, and when's the last time you pinched his butt when you walked by him and flirted a little bit? I mean, you're not dead yet, you know? Those things still matter. So I'm not asking you to go to Neiman Marcus every Friday night and buy $1,000 gift. I'm asking you to say a breath, like only 2 more hours till I get to see you again, sweetheart. Clink,
Mm.
a breath. You don't have time to chat for 2 hours in the workday, but you do have time to take a breath. And that is enough what I said, to keep those butterflies alive in your tummy, right? Like if I heard that, that's a yeah. That's a wow. That just made my day.
Yeah,
And
I love
so
that.
a breath.
Yeah, just a breath, just a single breath. It's all those little things, right, that can make such a huge difference. I think part of the other problem, doctor, is that we make assumptions about love that because we love each other, that means we should be able to communicate. And if you're not hearing me or understanding me, that means you don't love me. And I see this in family relationships too. We assume that families should be able to communicate and understand each other. But a family relationship dynamic is just the same. You have to put work into it. And I think
Yes.
some of these assumptions that we make, oh, we're in love, so we should just automatically do all these things. And if we don't, that means we're not in love anymore, right?
Right. Right. People think it runs on automatic pilot,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't. It does not run on automatic pilot. Please hear me. It does not run on automatic pilot. Because you said, I love you on your wedding day, that does not last for 20 or 30 years. Sorry. Everything that is important to you requires effort. You put effort into your job, you need to put effort into your love relationship.
Yes.
When you exit in the morning, whichever one of you do, maybe both of you do, you need to hug each other and kiss each other like you mean it before you leave each other. And when you re enter the home, you approach each other and hug each other and look at each other, love each other, and kiss each other like you mean it. And guess what else? Your children are watching you and they are learning about love from what they observe, or they're not learning about
Mm-hmm.
love from what they observe just as much. So, 100% for your own sake as a couple to keep your love alive. The secondary benefit is your children are observing you from the moment you hold them. They can't cognitively assess and learn cause and effect, but they can sure feel love or tension. They can feel stress or love. They can feel that they're attached to them in a loving way,
Mm-hmm.
or they can feel detached from you. And attachment or detachment is a very heavy, big word in our psychological terms. So if they don't feel loved, they feel detached. And I can talk to you for the rest of the day about how that's going to play out in their lives later.
Right.
So please hear me. You don't think they know? Oh boy, they know deeply, 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 deeply from when they're still
From very
in
young.
the
Yeah.
womb. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they feel stress and tension
Mm-hmm.
there. Or if you rub your tummy in a loving way, they feel love and attached. Or if they feel controversy going on and uh, unloved because you're under so much chaos and stress and duress, they feel detached and they're still connected to you inside and they feel detached. It's amazing.
It is.
They're
It
going
is.
through everything that you're going through and they know it. So they can't tell you the words, but their feelings are right on.
It's funny you told me that you took all these classes and they were so clinical and none of them were focusing on love. Your love and your passion comes through so profoundly, and there's
Oh,
nothing you have said that sounds clinical to me. It sounds real life, implementable. I can do that today. I can make
yes.
a difference today. And that's how I know you're changing lives with what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I you, you have to love what you do.
Yeah.
I give assignments. The first assignment, okay, here's a free tip. Compliment each other every day. Find something to say that's complimentary. So I build on positives. Uh, we don't spend time bashing your partner kind of thing. I'm sure you do enough of that at home. So I prefer to do positive movements forward in an upward fashion. And so the first assignment, and these are all forever assignments, they are not band-aids, but the first one is always compliment your partner every day. And I don't care whether it's physical, like, uh, wow, you look hot today, or, gee, you know, that outfit looks perfect on you. I'm so proud to be with you. You can find something to compliment. When you smile at me like that, I just melt. I mean, it's not hard to think of something good to say one breath. Or you can find intrinsic things like about their character. Like, I'm so proud of your integrity. You always do the right thing. Or I love how good you are with puppies. You're so good about baby puppies. I see you sparkle when you're playing with those baby puppies. I'm so glad you didn't take all of them, but I'm glad you brought home one. But it was so fun to watch you play with all six of those baby puppies. You were sparkling all over.
Such great advice, such great feedback and counsel. And you're still taking on new patients. People can call you right now if
Yes,
they want to seek your counsel. How do they get a hold of you? Give us the phone number.
it's 561 212 6855.
Well,
Thank
doctor, I
you.
wish we had more time to talk. I could talk to you all day about this stuff, but I feel like anybody watching, you're giving them nuggets that they can start down that road and work together. Like you said, if they're both willing, then there's hope, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's all. Yeah, that's all it takes.
Well,
Thank
doctor,
you
it's
so
been
much.
such a pleasure. Once again, I want to thank Dr. Virginia Crist for joining us today. Man, could you really feel her passion and her love and such great advice, not clinical sounding at all, things that we can each do every day to improve our marriage and our relationships. I made some notes. I'm going to be making some changes in my own relationship, and I hope you do as well. So thank you so much, Doctor. Again, my name is Jay McFarland, and this is another edition of Patient Preferred Presents.